Stacey's world flipped upside down after she found out her 3-month-old baby girl had a rare form of uncontrolled epilepsy called Dravet syndrome. Her story is definitely a shapeshifter, where life transformed her and her family. Just one of those monumental defining moments where you can choose to sink or swim, and Stacey definitely swam. The purpose of this episode is to shine light on the strength and determination Stacey had to help her daughter. She tapped into her intuition and listened to her mama instincts every step of the way. When it comes to your child's illness, whatever it may be, small or big, it's really important to remember that knowledge is power. And when you can control your mind frame using the tools that work for you, you are able to think clearly and allow the intuitive voice to speak loudly. Stacey McCaa, mother of 2 gorgeous babies, 5-year-old Nelson and 3-year-old Abigail, who has been diagnosed with Dravet syndrome. Stacey is a homeschooling mama, entrepreneur, wife, lover of life, and fierce advocate. Stacey has worked tirelessly to come to a place of acceptance and peace. This is a little insight into what it looks like to advocate so fiercely for our children, and what epilepsy families go through on a daily basis. Over 12,000 people per year in Australia are diagnosed with epilepsy, and it doesn't just affect them, their entire family. Let's shine a spotlight on epilepsy, as it is so underfunded and so in need of a cure. But that's enough from me, guys. Let's jump straight into the episode. Welcome to the Honesty Policy Hour. I'm your host, Stephanie Marie, and it's time to put everything on the table on this beautiful journey of healing all areas of our lives, one deep conversation at a time.
I am incredibly inspired by your journey. You've just had a hell of a whirlwind with your little one, and you're just amazing. And I think it's such an important thing to talk about, especially for, mums that have illnesses within the family. It's such a hard thing to deal with as a whole. And I think it's just not spoken about enough, because we feel very isolated when it comes to children's illnesses, regardless of what it is. But I think the way you've just handled it and what you show, I know it's always different from what we show from what it is in reality. But, yeah, I think it's just from where I'm sitting, from your lens, you're just doing a great job. And I just would love to hear about your story and how it all unfolded.
Oh, thank you very much for all those compliments. Where do I begin? You just want to know how, do you want the whole story?
Go for it. How it happened, how you found out.
So I found out, it was a long before I found out that it all started going down.
Wow.
Abigail had rhinovirus at 3 months old. And she was just this tiny little baby. I knew she had the flu, and she was laying on my chest, and she started to have a fever. And I just noticed her kind of going and I was like, that's a bit weird, poor little thing. She's obviously not handling this well, and it made me quite worried. I didn't think epilepsy at all. But I don't know how, but I did have a feeling that it could have been a febrile convulsion. So I immediately took her into the doctors, because she was only 3 months old. We got in straight away, and he was like, yeah, she probably didn't have a febrile convulsion, but if she did, it's nothing to worry about. Just give her some Panadol and she'll be fine. So I had already given her Panadol, and right as we were coming home, it was a summer day. And so we had gone from a cold medical room out into the hotness. And then we came home and we had the air conditioning running at home. And at that time, I think the Panadol was probably just about wearing off, and I was just about to give her another dose as we got home. And I took her upstairs, and just immediately, like as soon as I walked in from the car to upstairs, she started getting goosebumps all over her body. And I was like, oh no, like poor thing. Took her up to bed to just lay with her, give her booby. And yeah, she just started convulsing like crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I just called my husband and I was like, what is happening? Like, this is not normal. And then he was like, I don't know. So I just immediately called the ambulance. I couldn't even, like, honestly, I had only really seen like what seizures are portrayed like in the movies. And it's kind of like you see adults having them, you don't see little babies having them. And yeah, she was just frothing at the mouth. Her eyes were just, I don't even know. And she's just so tiny and just there, just going like with her entire body. And so, yeah, they arrived in 6 minutes. It was incredible.
Wow.
It was like the longest 6 minutes ever.
I can imagine.
But they've never come that fast again. 6 minutes. I was like, they really were on their game. And yeah, anyway, so we went into the hospital and they kept us in there to monitor her, and I think we even ended up in the ICU that time. We didn't have any more seizures, but they were really worried because she was only 3 months old, and we've actually chosen to not vaccinate at all, so she was completely unvaccinated, and they were really worried that she could have something, some disease or something like that. So they went.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but did they pressure you? Did you feel like you had done the wrong thing at that stage? It's such a touchy subject, and you have to really hone in when you make those decisions on your own gut and your own intuition. So when something like that can happen, your brain can just go. Did it go there at all?
You know what? It never did.
Amazing.
As you asked though, they pressured me and they tried to make me feel horrific. And luckily I was schooled enough to know that at that stage she actually was too young to have even had any of her vaccinations that would have covered for what they were telling me it could be.
Because at that stage it's just K and Hep B, isn't it? That's it. Yeah.
So I threw that back in their face.
Yeah, well done.
And just said, don't even get me started on that. She's too young to have had them anyway. So yeah, they did a lumbar puncture on her, and which was horrific for a tiny baby. And we did all. They told us to like come back for an EEG, but they did like brain scans and they seen nothing. So we were pretty much just sent home and told like hopefully this will never happen again. And then I think it was like 3 weeks later it happened again with another illness.
Oh my goodness, you poor thing. I just cry when my son has a fever sometimes because he just looks so, they're just in this state, and it's what you went through, what you're going through. My hat goes off to you. I think you just have to survive, don't you? You just get everything just kind of, you have no kind of choice. But the thought of just going there, you would have been in such a, like you're trying to be strong, but you're trying to be like keep it together. Like what was going through your head? Yeah,
well, I don't know if you've ever been into the hospital. There's this thing, it's called like the resus room. And when we were raced there, she was still having a seizure. The first one went for an hour and 10 minutes. So this is not short. Whoa. She was seizing like that for an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yep. So as soon as we got to the hospital, it's like a horrific movie where you're rushed into this room where there was like, not even joking, at minimal 20 doctors and nurses in there because she's 3 months old. Just straight away like sticking her with needles, getting oxygen onto her face. And you can't be there because it's happening. So you're just standing there just wondering what the hell is happening.
Oh my God. So once it's calmed down, did she come to? Like, what happened after that?
No. So after a really big seizure like that, she had never had like medication in her life. So the medication that they have to give is, well, there's a combination, but I think the first one that they use is called midazolam, and it's actually like it sedates you. So she was just completely out of it. I think she slept for like 4 hours straight after that. Abigail also gets this thing where like she already slept for 4 hours, but even when she has like a 10-minute seizure, she has this thing where she's paralyzed for an hour. So any part of her that was jerking, whether it's usually like one arm and one leg, it's usually one-sided, and her neck should be just completely paralyzed for an hour.
Wow. Oh, you're going to make me cry. That's intense. You poor thing. So, was there any reason for what had happened? Is there a reason why?
Yeah. So pretty much the same thing kept on happening month after month with illness. And it actually wasn't just like rhinovirus. What happened was she had rhinovirus and then she got a UTI. Okay. And then the way that they treat UTIs is by antibiotics, and the antibiotics were not working. It was like every 3 weeks that we came off of it, she just had another UTI and another UTI, and all they would keep prescribing is antibiotics until I spoke to a naturopath and we got something natural, and then they finally stopped happening. But yeah, after about the third seizure, they said to me, look, this could be more. She could have epilepsy. And do you have anything in your family? Like, I thought it had to be hereditary. So I was like, she can't have this. Like, it's definitely like just febrile convulsions that she's going to grow out of, because at this stage it was only with illness. Anyway, they could see the signs, which I never knew was like what she had or even possible. But they were like, can we do genetic testing? And they didn't even alert me to what it could be, what they were thinking. So yeah, I really like shut off to all of it. I was like, we're not doing medication. I was just going to treat her like with a naturopath. And I was like, I didn't even think that she had any epilepsy or anything. I just thought this will pass. And at 8 months, we were in the hospital for a seizure. And actually, the very next day, we were supposed to be going to Cairns with all of my family for a family reunion. And it was like 11 p.m. at night, and this nurse just walks into my room and she's like, while you're here, like, I just thought I would check if we had the results of her test. And I was like, okay. And then she just handed me this couple sheets of paper with Dravet syndrome and the SCN1A, and she just basically said to me like, hey, this is the test results and this is like the information to go with it. I'll just give you like some time to read over it. That was pretty much it.
What?
Yeah.
So was it because no one really knew what it was? Because I've never heard of those two words before. Or is it they just wanted you to process it in your own time, or they were busy, or what? I don't know.
It was 11 p.m. at night, and
okay.
she's only really like a nurse.
Okay.
She's not the pediatrician who would have even seen this, I guess, because Abby's like, I think it's 1 in 26,000 in Australia. So she would have had no idea either. Yeah. She just knew that she was giving me some heavy news, but I guess she probably couldn't answer any questions for me either. And what Abby actually has is like, she is missing a gene, which is the SCN1A gene. And then from there, it's like a spectrum, whether you have Dravet syndrome or not, just depending on like if medications can help you, which it's usually medication resistant. But yeah, there are cases of people, usually when it's hereditary, they grow out of it when they're about 8. And so they don't have Dravet syndrome. They just kind of have epilepsy. So it's a spectrum thing. So she couldn't even tell me if she would have Dravet syndrome.
So
if that makes any sense.
yes, no, it does. So what happened after that in the hospital? So when you read the sheets, did you I would have been like, okay, is that it?
I just was Googling and I was like, what the hell? Like, so she can either just have like epilepsy and maybe she'll grow out of it, or she will have this Dravet syndrome, which will then like come with a whole list of other side effects and things to, be worried about, I guess.
Yeah. So how in those the 8 months of her life, she had 3 of them. Was the first one the worst one?
Yeah, she didn't have 3. She kept having them about every 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, I misheard that. Oh my goodness. And what was the length of them usually?
I think after the 3rd one, they sent me home with midazolam. So then I could actually give it to her immediately. And actually at the start of it, they said to give it at the 5-minute mark. So all of her seizures were still 45 minutes, 25 minutes, until we finally got that diagnosis. They were like, this is obviously serious. And I had said, like, we need to give it straight away. Like, I cannot keep on waiting 5 minutes. And yeah.
It's like eternity.
We still had a couple that have been like really long, even when you do give it straight away. It's usually when she's ill. But generally they're down to about maximum 15 minutes now with giving them midazolam.
And how old is Abigail now?
She's turning 3 in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And are they still quite regular? Does she get them quite a bit?
Yeah. She will have 2 to 3 a week.
Oh, and obviously she's more able to communicate a little bit more with you now. Is she, how is she about it? She doesn't know any better, I guess.
Yeah, look, she is just the most vibrant, beautiful little girl who just picks right up where she left off. She does say to me, like, she has these little things called myoclonic jerks all day, where she'll pretty much just, like, they're constant all day. She'll just be jerking like this.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
A lot of the time she'll, like, have a cup of water or something. Like, I gave her Milo the other day and she goes to drink it and goes like this.
Oh.
And she says to me, like, Mummy, seizure. I'm like,
oh, my
baby.
God.
Yeah. There's been times as well where, like, she can, if she's having a focal seizure, she is usually still completely with us, but her eyes are just gone another direction. And she said to me and my husband one time when we were on the beach, help me.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Oh,
like, this is the saddest thing ever.
Oh, my God. Sorry. I can't even imagine how intense that would be, you poor thing.
Yeah.
How has
I've cried a lot of tears.
Oh, my God. You got me good. As I was saying, I cry when my son has a fever and, like, they're just so helpless little munchkins, and it's awful because you have an older son as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how old is he?
He just turned 5.
Okay. And how is he about the whole situation?
He has his moments and his days. Like, a lot of time is spent, like, on managing Abby's epilepsy.
Yeah.
We've chosen to homeschool because I just could not even fathom sending her. One, she can hardly even go outside some days. Like, she's just jerking like crazy. And if she's not just sitting on the bed playing with my nipple, she will have a seizure. Like, she needs to relax. And so I spend, like, a lot of my days, like, saying to my son, I'm sorry, Abby's not well at the moment. I just need to sit with her because I'm her comfort. But, yeah, I couldn't fathom sending her to a school where I'd have to put her life in someone else's hands. And we are a little bit woo-woo in this house, I'd say. So we love the idea of homeschooling anyway. So I feel like it's one of those silver lining things that when I became a stay-at-home mum, like full-time, I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. Like, I just love them so much anyway, and I couldn't even imagine sending my son away like 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. I'm just like, no, this is the total silver lining. So
yeah, amazing. Wow. So I'm just processing. That's just it's a lot for the first few months of a child's life as a family, and your son trying to, you know, going from the only child into having his whole world turned upside down. So that's a lot. It is a lot. How has it shaped? How has it sort of changed your family? You mentioned the homeschool aspect. Have you started doing things a little bit differently? You mentioned also that you were doing going the natural route. How did that kind of all happen?
That was all. It was all kind of like divine timing, really.
It always is, isn't it?
Because it was the pandemic. Nelson was fully vaccinated, and then the pandemic hit, and my world exploded while Abby was still in my belly. And it was like a sign from the universe, like, don't vaccinate her. And funnily enough, my dad is very pro-vaccine, and when Abby had her first seizure, he was actually the first one to message me and said, she needs to be vaccinated. And I actually said, no, Dad, I'm actually like praising the Lord that she wasn't vaccinated, because look, this is just a total who friggin' knows, but SIDS apparently happens for no reason. And I'm like, what if they had like a seizure in their sleep? Honestly, no one would even know, because there are so many parents on my group that are like, my kid's first seizure was right after their vaccination.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, I am so effing thankful that I didn't vaccinate her. And yeah, ever since then, like, I've just had so many things from the universe. Like, obviously this did not come from vaccinations because she's fully unvaccinated, but I'm just happy that, I'm happy that she's here today, and I don't know what would have happened if I had vaccinated her.
Well, is the seizures a neurological, or is that where they're from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with heavy metals like aluminium in vaccinations, that could have disrupted that as well. So who knows? That's a really interesting point. But the fact that you changed decisions during COVID, it's a very common story. You're definitely not the only one.
But yeah, it sent me on this path of like, I'm totally fine if I homeschool. And so, yeah, I feel like that really helped when it came down to the decision for me to stay at home.
Yeah.
That it was just an easy one.
Sorry, was Nelson, how old was Nelson when she was born?
He was 2.
Oh, he was
2
2,
years
okay.
and 1 month.
So he had never gone to daycare or anything like that either at that stage. Okay. So they've never gone to anything like that.
Nelson now goes to like a bush school once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, down in Currumbin Valley.
Beautiful.
And I did go to put him into kindy, but I think he went for 3 weeks and Abby got sick straight away, and I was like, no.
No,
Sorry.
because it triggers her illnesses, trigger her seizures as well, as you said before. Yeah. So your life is completely different. Everything is very different. And did you mention naturopathy or homeopathy? What route did you go down?
It was naturopath.
Yeah.
Can't say that.
Naturopathy. No, that's okay. Yeah. And what did they help her with?
They firstly helped with the UTIs.
Okay.
By just giving this like berry powder. And they also helped me a lot because when I got that diagnosis, I honestly have never, like, I praise the Lord for my beautiful family and how lucky I am. My mum is one of 7 and my dad is one of 4, and I have biggest, most beautiful family of aunties and uncles and cousins. I haven't lost anyone in my life. I've never really had a reason to like feel depression or anxiety or just, I don't even know what it was. It was just the worst, most devastating feeling that I've ever felt. And I was just nauseous every single day. My heart was racing. I felt like vomiting, and I like had the shakes all day. And, you know, I was breastfeeding at the time. So it was a gentleman, he was telling me how much like my nervous system and my anxiety would kind of rub off onto her. So he got me some like medicinal mushrooms, just like the shiitake and things, not anything illegal, and some more like just nervous system pills, and they help so much.
Oh, mushrooms are such medicine. They're amazing. I was taking reishi at one stage for insomnia, just for especially, and it was so amazing. They're so healing, and they're just, no side effects, which is amazing. Exactly. That's so nice that you found someone that could actually support you emotionally, because like just what you just said about your naturopath versus what the nurse did when you found out what Abigail actually had, just polar opposites. There's the care. I know it's a completely different system where, you know, the nurses are not fully educated in that regard, but it just shows like just the way it's all handled and the way they're trained. It's just very different. And it makes sense why a lot of us draw to alternative medicine.
Absolutely. Yeah, like the extent of their care for my mental health was I got a nurse navigator. So it just meant that I had someone that I could bring any of my concerns to. She did also give me this book called Special, and offered like to be there for any questions that I had. But yeah, it was going to take a lot more than that.
Yeah. And is this ongoing support as well with your mental health, or do you feel like it's just kind of you're just used to it and just dealing with the punches?
So I definitely like took matters into my own hands when I just, well, you know what? It started with, let's just say, like my mum. She would say to me, like, just think positive, Stacey, just think positive. And I would try so hard. And I was like, why can I not think positive? Like, like as if that was going to help though. Like I look back now and I'm just like, yeah, sure, just think positive about it all. It'll all be fine. But I did think that. I thought, why can't I think positive? So I was not the biggest podcast fan at the time, but I was like, I've heard about these. I bet I can look up something and listen to my heart's content. And so, I started getting onto the podcast train and found a mentor that I liked listening to. And, that was the route that I went.
Yeah. Community when it comes to anything like this, when you're such a minority, when your children are going through something that's considered, not a common thing, you need that support. But also finding someone that would be in that same boat, in the same country, would be obviously because she's one in, what was it?
26,000.
Whoa. So have you met any other mothers?
I have.
Okay, that's great.
Straight away, I actually, like when I was in hospital that night, I started adding myself to every single Dravet syndrome group I could find. And I actually am part of one that's called the Dravet Parent and Caregivers Group, and it has I think it has about 4,000 people in there.
Whoa.
So it can be overwhelming at times with stories, but it has been like the greatest resource to ask questions and connect. Yeah. And from there, I found people to follow on Instagram, and we have a really great relationship, all of us. And I think there's two. Yeah, I'm friends with two lovely mothers. One on the Gold Coast and one in Brisbane, whose daughters are like 6 months to a year older than Abby. So it's really good because, things have changed a lot in like the last couple of years compared to like 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good to be able to talk to them about everything that's happening now, like how they apply for like NDIS and how much support they're getting and what medications they're taking, what's working, what's not. So
Yeah,
it's really good.
that's so beautiful. It's such an important part of the process when it comes to feeling like you're heard, feeling like you're part of something, and that Abby has that support as well. Abby, is that what you call her for short as well?
Yeah,
Abby? Good.
I'll call her Abby.
Okay. Yeah, that's really beautiful. I'm so happy that you found that support. That would mean so much.
Yeah,
Because
it
there's
really
so much.
does.
Because I know when it comes to this sort of stuff, the strain on a relationship, it's a lot, because you're both just so incredibly stressed, and it can be really hard coming together at those times. So having someone that actually knows and someone that has answers, I can imagine it would be really supportive.
Yeah. It mostly helped just in like the not feeling lonely part. Like,
yeah,
I wrote like in my diary, like you just feel so disconnected from all of your friends, because it's like, it's definitely like if I was in their position, I wouldn't know what to say, what to do. And yeah, I even said like, I could ask for help, but I don't even know how they could help me because they can't relate at all. So it was like a really, really lonely time for a while there.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's and the fact that you've got two in the same country, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, there's a couple more like in this country. But yeah, it just comes to ages where I said like some things are not that relevant because the medications they're taking are from like years ago, and they're kind of also, there's a bit of an evolution of Dravet syndrome. Like you kind of, it's really bad when they're young, and then you usually find like a bit of a combination, and then when they start having hormonal changes, then it goes up again, and then it kind of settles. So yeah, we're all in like different stages.
Wow. And so what happens now when she experiences a seizure? Is the hospital there for if it does get, like, what's the limit that you have to go, no, we've got to go to the hospital? Or do you just write it out and give her naturopathy medication? Or like what sort of protocol do you follow?
Yeah, so it's probably important for me to say, for the first 6 months of Abby's life, I fought so hard to get her on the ketogenic diet, because everyone said, like, if you can, try like food first. Lots of things don't make sense in like the neurological world. And they just wanted to prescribe her medication, and they said, like, unless you're at least on one medication, you're not getting into the ketogenic clinic. So I reluctantly put her on one of just like the starter medications. It's called Keppra. It's just a general one that they give. And this was actually after I had already tried CBD. But with CBD, it is so hard to gauge the right amount, because they would say to me, like, give her 1 drop for like 2 weeks, and then give her 2 drops, and then give her 3 drops, and use your intuition to know if she needs more. And I was like, by the end of like a month, I was like, I cannot keep on like waiting. Like, I need to do something. And so I just waved the white flag there and said, okay, we'll start her in Keppra as well. We were in hospital like every 3 weeks, and pretty much the pediatrician said to me, like, in no straight words, but if you don't put her on medication, we're going to be calling someone on you. Yeah. So I was like, this is it. Like, I've got to do it. So I put her on this medication.
Before you go on with the medication, did you look at like the inserts and the ingredients and stuff like that? Did they seem harmful, or was it just something that people just agreed to because it was the only option?
Oh, absolutely. It seems harmful. Like on the pamphlet, it says that like it can cause more seizures and it can cause death. So it's just like, what?
What?
Why? So yeah, I brought that up, and they kind of just brush it off, and they're like, yeah, they kind of just said like, that's not going to happen. Like, no, it'll be fine. This is a good option.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, within 2 weeks, I don't know if it was a coincidence, but she had her first ever seizure without having a fever or illness. And so I was like, oh my God, like now this is like full-blown epilepsy. She had it just because she was in her little bouncer. She was having too much fun. And so, yeah, I called them and I told them that. I said, look, she's just had her first seizure without having an illness. And they were like, no, it's probably just like a progression of her syndrome. It's not the medication. But I stuck to my guns, and every single seizure after that, they were like, you need to up the dose. You need to up the dose because it's not covering her. And I was like, no, I'm not upping the dose. Like, I'm on your medication, but I'm not upping the dose. So I stayed on like the minimalist that I could. And I'm happy with that decision now too, because it turns out that because Dravet is such a beast, everyone is like, Keppra doesn't even work anyway. So
okay.
It wouldn't have done anything.
Oh, that is so intense that they said they were going to call someone if you didn't take the drug when it's got death written on the actual possible symptoms.
Yeah.
What do you – this is incredibly conflicting, isn't it? It's just like, so the worst case scenario is possible, but she could also be taken away from me. Like what do you do in that situation? And then if the worst case scenario did happen, what happens then? You can't blame them because of – everything. But that's Stacey, what a time. So after that moment where you stopped upping the dose, did you just stay on the minimum requirements?
Yeah, so I stayed on the minimum to qualify for keto. It was like a 6-month wait to get on keto though. So
what does that mean by? Because how old was she at this stage?
8 months.
Okay, so she was eating. Yeah.
Yes, she had just started.
Okay. So sorry for my ignorance, but what's stopping you from just feeding her and following a ketogenic diet rather than taking her to a clinic? What's the difference?
Firstly, information on how to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And also I feel like they put a bit of fear into you as well, because you can get I forget what it's called now, but like as soon as you start the ketogenic diet, you go into ketosis.
Yeah.
And that can be really dangerous as well, especially for a young child.
Okay.
Because I think it's called like ketoacidosis or something. And it's like a hospital emergency. So they were just saying like if you do it too quick or
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I also didn't think it was going to take 6 months. I thought maybe I'd be waiting like 8 weeks. So I just kept persevering. But yeah, I just kept saying like, no, we're going to be starting keto soon. We're going to be starting keto soon. Like everything's fine. And yeah, in the meantime, she's having more and more seizures.
And you eventually got into to keto? Yeah.
We did. Yeah.
Amazing.
We did it for 6 months. And at the start, it was pretty good. I think our longest stretch, we got 20 days without a seizure.
Wow.
But then it just came, and you never know if it's just Dravet syndrome. They just kept coming. Every single trigger, like she goes into the bath, and the temperature is like 2 degrees difference from like her body temperature, and she'll have a seizure. We're just playing hide and seek, and like you give her a bit of a scare, she has a seizure. She's being chased by her brother down the hallway, has a seizure from excitement. Just all of just the most littlest things. And yeah, keto wasn't stopping any of that. It took such hard work to, like, if you want to leave the house, you need to be so prepared. And it was crap ingredients too. because like she didn't like anything that I was feeding her, so I had to resort to like, I can't even remember right now, but yeah.
So
it
the
was
keto
hard.
the keto clinic that they were so did you stay there for a bit, or they just gave you this plan that you had to follow?
I stayed there for a whole week in the room. And yeah, I had like a lady come in and teach me how to use a calculator, because you have to also log on to like this website and literally work it out, because it's not just keto, it's a ratioed keto. So every little gram counts.
Yeah,
She was
okay.
like on like a 2-to-1 ratio or 3-to-1. And yeah, every little thing that she ate, I had to log and make sure that it was perfect and feed her so much coconut oil. Everything was just smothered in oil. And she was just miserable. By the end of 6 months, she was just so unhappy. She was fighting me on everything because she just loves food. And I was like, it's like the benefits just aren't, I'm not seeing them enough to have this like such unhappy child. And she's just such a foodie. The minute that I took her off, she was just changed so much.
Oh, her soul was back.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And how old was she when you stopped?
I think she was almost 2 by then.
Yeah, okay. Oh, poor darling. So you just went normal diet, and whatever she kind of ate like a...
Yeah, I went gluten-free, low sugar, just to try not be too crazy. And then I think it was like for the next 8 months, I tried every other thing under the sun.
Yeah. Anything that was recommended from every website, everything. You would have followed everything, yeah.
I tried 7 different CBDs, tried all of the medicinal mushrooms, like wildflower and everything. Every single tincture that they had on my like epilepsy and Dravet pages to try. I tried everything and none of it helped.
No, and even now there's nothing that has minimized them or helped her through them?
Not yet. However, I don't know if you've seen the video that I shared. There is this one medication called fenfluramine. We tried everything natural, and the neurologist has said to me like the whole time, like, you are like under medicating her, you need to get her on a medication. And I said no, I'm not going to try all of these medications that you're suggesting that I know has like, I can guarantee you 95% chance that it's not going to make a difference. All it's going to do is like affect her negatively. And then what happens is like the seizures get so bad with this one medication that you add in another one, but then you're trying to wean off that medication that's so crap.
Yeah.
And then they're having more seizures because weaning causes seizures. And so you get into this really bad like habit of having so many medications on the go while weaning them off as well. And I was just like, I'm not doing this. I spoke to a Dravet specialist, and she said to one of the mums that I speak to, she didn't say this to me, but she said to her, if I had a daughter who had Dravet syndrome, I would do every single thing I could to bypass every other medication and get to fenfluramine. So I said this to them, and they were like, no, absolutely not, because it's $3,575 per bottle. They said to me, unless you try these medications in our order that we're telling you to try them, and unless she's on 3 of these medications and still ending up in hospital 4 times a month, then you're not going to qualify for us to fund this medication. Like, you can't even go there. You're not getting out until you follow these rules.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And this medication, like the reason why I'm paying out of pocket $3,500, firstly, the lady I was telling you about, her name's Dr. Ingrid Sheffer. She made that statement to me, which stuck with me. But on our Dravet parent group, this is the one medication that has like the least side effects and has the most chance of working. So I was like, I want to bypass all of that. if this is either going to work or it's not, and then I'll try all the other crappy ones, like if I have to. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. We're titrating.
So you got it?
I got it, yeah, from the professor in Melbourne, the one who said that she would do anything. She just said to me, like, do you have the means to be able to fund this if it works? And I was like, yep. Just because I'm like, I just said, like, I'm going to do anything I can to fund this. And in my mind, I was like, if Abigail was seizure-free, which the only way we're going to stay on $3,500 a bottle per month is if she's not having seizures, and then I would be able to work. So I'm like, I'll be able to fund it some way or another. Do you know what I mean? Because at the moment I can't work and I can't leave her with other people. And it's not even that I don't want to, like, they don't feel comfortable, like, it's scary.
Of course. And you would want your mum when you're going through something like that, like, especially at that age. She's just a baby still. She's poor little munchkin. Oh my God, I just want to give her a big cuddle, poor darling.
I know, but yeah, if you see her on my page, she's just, you wouldn't know. She's just so beautiful and so loving, and like what she's been through has just made her even more, like, she's just like the closest thing. We always say to her, like, I'm right here, Abby, and she tells us a million times a day, she goes, Mum, I'm right here. And I'm like, you're so cute. And she loves cuddles and kisses, and at this stage in my life, like, I feel like there's, like, it wasn't a mistake. Like, she is just heaven on earth. Even through all of it, I'm like, there was no mistake here. Like, this is who she was meant to be. And she's changing us so much.
Just with your patience and persistence and just willpower to help her in any way you possibly can, like any parent, a good parent would. So you're just, so with that drug, so did you notice difference when you started giving it to her?
No. So it's a titrating thing. So like, we do 2 weeks, we do 0.5 mil. After 2 weeks, we go to 1 mil, and we can go all the way up to 4 mils based on how many kilograms she weighs. And so, yeah, we're only kind of halfway at the moment. Haven't seen anything, but I'm hopeful.
When did you start her on it?
I think we've been on it about 6 weeks now.
Okay. Oh, so it's new, very new.
Yeah.
Oh, you would have been over the moon when you found that you were able to get it.
Oh my God, so over the moon. Like,
why is it so expensive?
It's not TGA approved.
Okay.
And it's not even on the PBS. So, firstly, the company has to, like, sign an agreement with Australia, and apparently that's a lot of work for them, a lot of paperwork and a lot of money to, like, get onto our TGA, and they don't have enough customers. This is what Dr. Ingrid Sheffer says anyway, because she is in great talks with them to get them to come here. But then, as I said, even when it is TGA approved, which I hope it will be one day, we still would not be able to have it funded because it has to be approved through the PBS, and then there's still those things that I was telling you about, that you have to be on 3 medications and still be ending up in hospital. So we have, like, zero chance. However, I'm like, if this ends up working for Abby, I'm going to fight to my death. Like, I'm going to tell all of my followers to, like, email the Brisbane Children's Hospital, like, inundate them, get the news cameras in there. Like, you will fund this. Like, if my daughter's gone from, like, she had so many seizures, like 3 seizures a week to 0, like, someone is funding this for me and the rest of the community.
When your why is that strong, there's no backing down, and you'll get it 100%, most definitely. And I'll be there. I'm writing emails too, don't worry.
Oh, thank you.
So walk me through what you guys do when she has a seizure now.
So yeah, it came a point where, like, the hospital was like, there's nothing that we can do here for you. Like, Do you know what I mean? We're just wasting our time.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't admitting us because we don't need a bed. They're just like, she had another seizure. Like, all we can do is monitor her. And I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I don't want to be coming here either. So, yeah, look, our protocol now is like we give her midazolam straight away. If it lasts over 10 minutes, I get onto the phone with the ambulance just in case it keeps on going, which it hasn't in a very, very long time. But I can either just cancel them or they just come out if they're really close and just give her a little check over. They always just ask me, like, what have you got at home to, like, monitor her oxygen and her breathing and things like that. So, yeah, I can manage it at home now. Mostly we just rest. Like I said, she's like paralyzed, so we just cuddle.
Yeah. And how long does it take for her to come to after that?
So sometimes if it's really a bad one, it'd be about an hour. But a lot of the time she's still with it. She's just really groggy and she wants to get up and move. And I'm like, you cannot even, like, take one step. You just collapse. And that's the crappiest thing too, because it is sedating. It's almost like as if, those people that, like, get their teeth done and they're feeling really, like, high. Like, she wants to go. And I'm like, you can't. Like, it's actually the hardest thing to keep her down sometimes.
Oh, my God. How do you keep a toddler down? Like, that's, I just think about my son. Oh, my goodness. That would be insane. Insane.
But, yeah, I can't imagine, like, when she gets any heavier and bigger because, like, I just carry her around all day and am cuddling her. So it's going to be really hard if she's still having seizures and she's like this, like, 30-kilo person.
Oh, darling. And because breastfeeding would have been such a comfort for her as well. That would have been such medicine for her. Did you push it for as long as you possibly could?
Yeah, I did. We did it for, I think she was like a year and a half old.
Yeah.
And then we had to stop because of keto because it just would have been too high in carbs.
Okay.
But, yeah, she's still just – and I've found out this is totally like a Dravet baby thing. All of them just, like, twiddle our nipples for comfort. I tell everyone that. They're like, my kid too. Really? Yeah, so she lives with her hand down
said that
here.
Before, and I'm like, are you still breastfeeding? Because I was like, how is that so funny?
All day, honestly.
Oh, my goodness, that's hilarious.
It's a lot. But, yeah, as you said at the start, like, look, I don't like to, like, make it sound breezy or, like, it's a hard, like, polarity to be like, this is effed, like, what these people go through and what these families go through. Like, we honestly get no support, like, with our mental health. It's just, yeah, like you said, it takes such a toll on the whole family, like your husband and your children, and people, like, stop. They don't have the children that they want to have because they're worried. And, yeah,
they're going to have another child with it. Is that why people stop?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, not, and it's not even about that. It's just about, like, how it will affect the sibling because it definitely does. But, yeah, so I've just done so much work to get to, like, the place that I am, and sometimes I even feel a little bit disconnected from some people because my mindset is really different now.
Mm. Well, I guess you just don't have any room for bullshit, really. You're fixed on helping her and making sure that your family is the best it possibly can. So anything that's, not sort of vibrating on your level is just, I can imagine just going the other way.
Yeah. But, yeah, I want more than anything for, like, the families to just feel peace.
Yeah.
And, so that's why, like, when I started getting into, like, the coaching world, straight away I was like, I want to do this. Like, once I had, like, my first, like, aha moment, I was like, oh, my God, like, I just cannot believe the difference in my mindset now. And I know that so many people could do with this. So I was just like, jumped straight into like a coaching course, which turned out to be a little bit of a shambles because I really didn't align with this person. But yeah, I just jumped the gun. And it was a course, and it left me feeling like competent but not certain.
Was this life coaching that you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just a course, but I'm currently studying a certification, and it goes for 18 months, whereas the course was just like an 8-week thing, and then you're like, see ya, anyway. But yeah, so I'm loving studying that at the moment, and I'm having just so many epiphanies and mind-blowing moments. It's just crazy. And yeah, I've always been like a person to want to just help, and I really think that I'll be able to do that. So
the fact that you're going through what you are and you're still wanting to help everybody else, that's really beautiful.
They need it. It's really hard.
Yeah, I agree. You said you had a few mind-blowing moments. What were the things that really helped you emotionally, I guess, to really be the best version of yourself so you can assist your family?
Definitely, like, one of the biggest things is having a good relationship with your partner, because without him, like, there are times when I am like losing my mind, like my daughter's purple and I'm just like hyperventilating, and he's just, all he has to do is like put his hand on me and be like, Stacey, like breathe, like come back. And yeah, I don't even know what I would do like without having him there. So just to know that you have someone who just will always be there for you, and you're just on the same page. And I know that there are a lot of relationships that don't work out like when you get something like this. So
understandably as well, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So just making sure that that's really tight. And then like the biggest thing that I learned like straight away with my coaching is like, was this saying, it was like, when you resist the way that the world is, you will suffer. And I was just like, I'm definitely resisting because I don't want this.
It was like 100 light bulb moments went off at that time.
Yeah. And then I was kind of like, how the hell do you not resist this? But yeah, when he explained like how you're suffering, it was just me to a T. And I was like, because suffering sounds like such a harsh word, but I realized that it was true. And I was like, I don't want to suffer. Like, no. What is the actual point? Like it's not going to change anything. It is what it is.
No, it's all mind. It's all in the mind, isn't it? You could become a prisoner of your own mental status sometimes, and escaping that it starts with realization all of the time. Once you're realizing, it's just like, the walls of my chambers have disappeared instantly. It's because I did this to myself. But you just need that someone just to poke that bubble that you feel like you're trapped in. You're like, hello, world.
Definitely. And like when your daughter has like a 45-minute seizure and then after an hour is like happy as Larry, you're just like,
what?
How can I like linger on this when she just wants me to get on with it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, she's just the best role model ever.
My goodness. Isn't it funny they say you learn things from your parents? No way. We equally learn exactly the same from our kids. We're all learning, all of us. And just having that just young heart and just playful attitude, we forget that sometimes as an adult, especially when you go through an intense situation like that. You forget to have fun because your mind is nowhere near fun.
That's right.
Oh, wow. Well, they're pretty big things that would have completely changed your mindset.
Yeah, 100%. And I just had the most like massive breakthrough only a couple of weeks ago, which I don't know if I told you, like I'm starting my own podcast as well, and I'm going to share because it's a really long story. but yeah, it's really like tapping into like your subconscious and yeah, just the things that were down there was incredible.
Because it would have
And
triggered a lot of other situations in your life as well.
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how when new things come, it's just mirroring the old things. It's just, isn't it the way that our world works? It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's honestly like it's been like the greatest work. Like it's so, like I said, like the polarity, like the things that she's given me are incredible, but then thinking about how brutal what she goes through, it's just sometimes you can just get so lost. Like
yeah, it's very push-pull because you see her super happy and then you see her at her worst, and it's like when you're super angry and then you're super happy. Like how it's not, you can't, it's, we're not switches, we're humans. We feel deeply, especially as a mother. My goodness. So coming from the pits to up again, I think the key there is to not go so down so you can kind of go up when she goes up again. Is that what you felt like you had to do?
Yeah, for sure. Or like the total opposite, like a full like release, like just a breakdown and let it all out, and then you can also feel great after that too.
Yeah. You need a punching bag. Do you have a punching bag? Get some energy out. Get some of that rah out. Just stuff. Oh my goodness!
I do love the gym. I have a beautiful like gym community.
Great.
And that's a great outlet.
Yeah. Lifting weights. The pain forgets the art pain.
My thing is definitely like a dance party.
Oh yeah.
I just grab my child and have a dance party and like all is right in the world again.
Yeah. We do dance parties too a lot, especially when he's had like big feelings and I've had a big feeling.
Yeah. It's usually us.
It's usually us. I know, as you said, like when they do things to trigger our emotions, it's like, why am I so upset over a child? It's just like, all right, let's just dance.
Yeah.
Something that's going on there. I'm not dealing with that right now. Maybe on a later day. Let's just dance. I know. You just gotta roll with the punches and just move through all the shit that life throws at us, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. What tools were really important for you during this time? Like, were meditating or journaling, or were you doing any of?
I'm a little bit like, I feel like I may have a little bit of like an ADHD brain. I haven't had that checked, but I move from things so quickly. Tools is just, like I said, like knowing, like one of my highest values is just happiness. Like I know that I'm a happy person, and before all of this happened, I'm just such like a happy-go-lucky, and I had to just make sure that like I know every day like what makes me happy. Like I get out for a walk with my kids, and then like I just make sure that like I'm expanding like my vision, like being present. And like I said, like dancing, going to the gym, just knowing all the things that like fill my happiness cup. But yeah, like honestly, the biggest thing has been coaching, like having a coach that I can bring something that I have every single week to is just the best thing, because you get, like I'll only hold on to it for a couple of days and I'm like, I know that I have someone who's going to help me with this. And it always is like resolved by the end of the session.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just because processing, we get so into our heads when it comes to anything that really affects us emotionally. So understanding when to just process it and realize that I am not this emotion. It's just an emotion that's coming through me, because we label it as that it is us. Like I have anxiety. It's just, I have depression. It's we're used to taking on these terms as what we are, but it's not who we are. It's just an emotion that we're currently feeling at the time that will that can pass and will if we allow it to. So having that soundboard, and like with coaching, a lot of it is venting it to somebody with a non-biased opinion. Like sometimes feedback is amazing, but I found personally sometimes feedback, it's the medicine is me actually saying it exactly what happened, because then when I say it, I'm just like, oh, it's not that bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. As soon as you talk, you're just like, oh, hang on.
Isn't it funny? Because we think as we speak. Because if we're thinking, we overthink, and our brain doesn't know the difference between, oh, that's a pretty blue car, or I'm hurting. It doesn't know the difference of the two thoughts. So when you write it down or say it, you're putting it out there, and then your brain starts thinking it's real. So that task alone, that's why venting is so important, especially for girlfriends and anything, like just being able to really communicate your needs. There's so many conversations I've had with my girlfriends, and I'm just talking. I'm like, oh, I just realized something as I was saying that to you.
Yeah, honestly, it's been the best just to be able to blurt it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy for you that you have that, because you need all the tools, all of
you
them.
You really do. Yeah,
a routine of everything. I'm doing this now. And what do you have like special moments with Nelson that you do, or does your husband help with that, just so that he can feel a little bit, I don't know, himself, I guess? Yeah,
it's definitely something that we try to do our best at. In the summertime, Abby has been like pretty bad, and like I've said, like it's just a heat thing for her. If she has a good day, I can usually like leave her with my mum and we'll go to Wet n Wild or something.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, Nelson's dad, his name's Nelson, sorry, is home 2 days a week, and we always make sure that like we do whatever Nelson wants to do. And we actually have this really hardcore medication that we can give Abby on the weekends, which I discovered through her having an illness. They have this medication which is called a bridge, and it's just to get you through really hard days.
Okay.
And she can have up to 3 drops when she's sick. And I was like, I'm just going to give her 1 drop because she's so happy on 3 drops. And so I give her 1 drop on a Friday and a Saturday so we can actually go out and have fun. And it's made like the biggest difference. Like we've been able to make so many memories. We've been able to take her on just like, a little 2-day like staycation up the road to a place that has like a water park and slides. Sometimes it won't be enough, but it usually won't be like a really big seizure because she has that on board. But yeah, we really try our hardest with Nelson. Like every time Abby's having a little nap in the day, I'll be like, all right, Nelson, do you want to go jump on the trampoline, or you want to play superheroes? Like,
amazing.
Yeah, I just make sure every day that he gets some one-on-one time with me as much as he can. And same with his dad. He'll take him for like a little picnic around the lake and go get burgers or whatever he feels
beautiful.
Like. Yeah.
That's so nice. Does he talk about how he feels? Like, because how old did you say? He's 5 now?
Yeah, he just turned 5.
Yeah. So does he talk about like how he feels, or is he just a happy kid as well?
I worry just because of what I've heard in like the Dravet parent group that like children need therapy. But
like other siblings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another reason why I'm learning this coaching certificate, because I want to be able to have so much tools to help him. And he, like, this is like another silver lining. Like, I think you already know, like, children that grow up with a sibling with special needs are just the most special humans themselves, because they just have so much empathy and so much love. Like, he, like, grabbed 2 dandelions the other day and he's like, and I wish for my daddy to never go to work again, and I wish for my sister to never have a seizure again. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet, Nelson. I just said, oh, why is that? And then he's like, because she can come on the trampoline with me. I'm like, he's so cute. And then, he just loves her to death. Like, he'll tell her, Abby, I love you, a million times a day. And in his little bush kindy group, every time that they start their morning, they say like what they're grateful for. And Nelson, like, sometimes he'll grasp like what he's grateful for, but sometimes he'll say like what he wishes for and then blow out the candle, I guess, like a birthday cake. And yeah, he'll say like, I wish for my sister to not have seizures. So I know that it affects him. And I think you asked before, like, what does he do? Like, sometimes when she's having a seizure, like, people say that you should always tell like the kid, like, go play on the iPad or something. And if it's really horrific, like, I will, I'll say like, hey, Nels, just go watch TV or something. Other times I'll ask him like, Nels, can you quickly go and run and get her medication bag? Sometimes he'll be like, no, like he just doesn't want a bar of it.
Yeah.
And other times he'll be like, okay. And then he'll run and get that. And then he'll go and get me like this massive machine, which like sucks out the saliva. Like sometimes he really wants to be hands-on. So I feel like at the moment he's doing fine. He can either like be a part of it or not. And yeah, as I said, like the best we can do is try to like give him one-on-one time. And yeah. I definitely like am an advocate for like asking him how he's feeling, and we let him release all of his emotions like without any judgment. So yeah.
Wow, that's so really beautiful. That's so amazing. Like, yeah, just navigating through two children and making sure that, you know, the other sibling is okay. It's like I said before, there's no other word, but it's a lot. And you're doing amazing. You really are. And the fact that you went through all that and, you know, that pressure from hospitals and all those scary things that you were asked, it's massive. It really is. And and you're at a place now where, you know, she's happy after a seizure. That's incredible. That seems so incredible. And I really hope there's a day where she doesn't experience any anymore. I really do.
Thank you. Me too. But yeah, I just want to keep that, like, I want to keep how she is right now. I never want her to feel like her life is like any less or unfair, unjust. And so that's why it's so important for me to not go down that road or like even talk about it. Like with Nelson, I never say that. Like, yeah, I try to be so positive about it just so she knows that everything's going to be okay.
Of course. It always is. It really is. We get stronger, we learn, we teach as you are, as you will. That's awesome. It really is. And yeah, you should be really proud of yourself for coming this far and really trying to better yourself so you could be that platform for your family. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. But thank you so much for sharing your story. I just wanted to ask as well, do you have any advice for any families that are going through any, you know, illness or anything similar with their families?
I guess that like it will get better, really.
Yeah.
I think at the start, like another thing that I really learned is that like when our brain doesn't have like all the information, it's gonna be so scattered, and like the brain doesn't like uncertainty. So you have to spend that time like learning, and you have to give it time and join all the groups and learn like your daughter's triggers. And yeah, it just takes time. Like you're not going to have all of the knowledge straight away. So it feels like it's not going to get better, but it definitely does.
Yeah. Knowledge is power, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stacey. I really appreciate all that, and for you being so vulnerable and honest with your journey. And yeah, it means a lot. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Well, thank you so much for everyone that's listening, wherever you're listening from. Have a beautiful day. Peace.
Bye.
That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the episode and received a few good takeaways from it. If anyone popped into mind while you were listening that you feel may benefit from it, please share it across. Your support really helps promote my podcast. And to follow all the latest things that I'm up to at the moment, you can find me on Instagram at Steph Marie Holistic Healing. Thank you again, guys. Have the best day, and we'll see you on the next episode.